Gautam Buddha always used to tell his disciples that our words can be very powerful. He said that our tongue which we use to speak is like the sharpest knife in the world. He also said that the most dangerous weapon in the world is our words, even though they don't physically hurt people, but our words can hurt people emotionally. Our words can be a source of strength, but they can also be a weakness if we don't know when, where, and how much to speak. When we speak kindly and wisely at the right moments, it can lead to success, but if we speak unkindly or at the wrong times, it can make our life very difficult. So friends, today I'll share a story about the importance of staying silent, and it has the power to change your life. This story will help you understand how silence can be powerful. Once upon a time in Japan, there was a famous Buddhist monk who lived deep in the quiet forest far from the noise of the world, and he was a very meditative person, and he was also very famous throughout Japan. One day a prince came to him and said, "Respected monk, I always feel tired, frustrated, and upset. My mind is very restless. Even though I have everything, wealth, fame, and all the luxuries one could desire, there is still no inner peace within me. Oh monk, please help me to get rid of this restless mind." So the monk said, "You already hold the answer within you, but you have never discovered it." The monk said, "I want to do an experiment. Would you like to do that experiment? After this experiment, there will be no unrest and worry in your life." The prince was very upset after hearing all this, but he asked the monk to tell him what to do and said, "I am ready to do anything for my peace of mind." Then the monk replied in a calm voice, "For the next 15 days you will stay in my monastery and live like a normal person, and for these 15 days you will sit alone in silence and speak as little as possible." The prince agreed to the monk's plan. On the first day, he noticed that his mind was more restless than usual. Many questions and thoughts kept popping up, and he felt uneasy living a simple life like everyone else. He really wanted to talk, but he resisted the urge and stayed completely silent, just sitting quietly. But as the night went on, he began to feel an unexpected sense of calm and happiness. This experience puzzled him because he couldn't understand why his restlessness was fading away. The next day, the prince continued to spend time in solitude, watching nature, flowers, plants, and birds in the sky. For the first time, he truly appreciated the beauty of nature surrounding him. He could observe and connect with the natural world all around him. 10 days went by. All the inner restlessness and chaos in his mind gradually vanished. On the 12th day, he found himself entering into deep meditation. As his eyes closed on their own, he closed his eyes and entered into a deep state of meditation, and his mind became free from worry. The prince experienced profound inner peace. After spending the last 3 days in deep meditation, he approached the Buddhist monk and said, "Respected monk, I have discovered why my mind was so troubled." He explained, "I figured out the reason for my distracted and troubled mind." The monk asked, "Please share with me what you've learned." The prince replied, "I used to talk too much and spend a lot of energy on people and often think negatively about them. This excessive talking and negative thinking wasted my time and made my mind disturbed. As a result of this behavior, I couldn't perform my tasks effectively, and I started failing in almost everything, and these continuous failures made me even more unhappy and easily annoyed. It continued to negatively impact my life. However, these 15 days were a transformative experience. Now I feel like I'm truly living life to its fullest, and I realized that before this I was living it the wrong way." I also realized that we don't have to force meditation, it happens naturally. The first thing I learned from meditation is that the most important event in one's life is to know oneself. The Buddhist monk mentioned that it's not just you. Many people in the world talk too much. Even today, many people used to speak to hurt others, and this excessive talking is still causing problems in their lives. The monk explained to the prince the importance of being silent. He shared a story about a disciple who once asked Gautam Buddha why he was silent so often. Buddha replied, "I stay silent to dive deep within myself." Silence is the first step to truly knowing yourself. Without silence, self-discovery is impossible. So the first step is to be silent, only speak when necessary, and you'll see that most of our talking, about 90%, is harmful. It would have been better if people don't talk too much. It could have reduced about 90% of the problems. When people become quieter, there are fewer fights, less restlessness, and less arguing. If both individuals learn to stay silent, many problems in the world could be avoided. Someone who understands the value of silence can be at peace even in a crowded place. Being alone can be like heaven. The company of others can sometimes make us uncomfortable. It's important to start by finding peace within yourself and embracing silence and allowing your inner energy to flow. Invite your thoughts to settle down. If you wake up and feel disturbed by the presence of others, it's a good idea to close your eyes and reconnect with your inner self. You'll find a sense of freshness inside yourself, because that's where your life originates. It's not in anyone else. It comes from the same source as you, and no one else can take you within. You must go there yourself. So look inward, because you are the ultimate ruler of your inner world. That's where life begins, and that's where happiness is born. When you look inside yourself, you'll encounter the depths of life and even touch upon the notion of death. This inner journey is like watching your own life Go through ups and downs like the sun rising and setting. Every time you take this inner journey and come back, you'll feel refreshed. It's like you feel cool after a nice bath. This is where you find the richness of life, where you gain new strength and where tiredness, sadness and worry disappear, and leaving you feeling as refreshed as a cool body after a bath. In the same way, when someone takes time to be quiet and reflect on their thoughts, they often feel more peaceful and happy afterward. When you really connect with your inner self, you'll find that talking doesn't make your mind feel upset. Instead, there's a constant feeling of calmness inside you. You can talk and still remain connected to your inner self. You can use words without breaking your inner peace. When you do this, your words will have a beautiful quality like music, and everything will be in harmony. Speaking this way will touch others deeply. When you maintain inner silence, you start to tap into a strong inner strength, and breaking free from society pressures, you'll find a special joy in life similar to the joy of those who passionately follow their dreams. Your face will have a new brightness and your eyes will shine with a unique light as you dive into the ocean of endless peace. Friends, you might have noticed that talking too much doesn't bring peace to the mind. It makes it hard to control our thoughts and to stay focused. People who talk too much find it difficult to concentrate on one task. Because of this, they can't give their full attention to their goals and often miss out on understanding the true meaning of life and making it more difficult to attain their desired success. Furthermore, you may have noticed that those who talk too much are sometimes mocked by others, and those who speak less and stand by their words will earn respect of the others, because people tend to pay attention to what someone says and trust their words. However, a person with a troubled mind typically finds it hard to succeed because they lack genuine interest in their work. True intelligence lies in knowing when, where, and what to say, and those who develop this skill tend to succeed in various situations. A person who speaks less often becomes the center of attention and tends to succeed in various pursuits. When we observe the qualities of great individuals, we find that they use few words, carefully consider what they say, and this contributes to their success. In contrast, there are many who talk excessively, often resorting to dishonesty and spreading negativity about others, which can harm relationships and reputations. That's why the people close to them often try to avoid and stay away from them. In ancient texts from different cultures, they often talk about how our words reflect our beliefs and values. Being quiet helps us become patient, which makes us more aware. Meditating can help us understand ourselves better. So my friends, I suggest you spend at least 20 minutes alone in solitude every day. This can bring so much positive change in your life. I hope you enjoyed this story and learned a lot. You can tell us your thoughts about the story by commenting in the below comment box. Before leaving, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Music. People think that memory is supposed to be perfect. They think it's designed to remember everything they want to remember. And this just isn't how it works. Our brains are not designed to remember people's names, to do something later, or to catalog everything we encounter. But what I found over and over is that everybody over the age of 50, 60, 70, they think that all kinds of forgetting mean they have Alzheimer's. They'd say things to me like, well, I'm always forgetting names. And if I don't write down what I have to do later, I won't remember to do it. And I'm always walking into the kitchen and I don't know why I'm in there. So these people are panicked and afraid and stressed out and really ashamed of these moments of forgetting, which are actually totally normal. My name is Lisa Genova. I'm an author and neuroscientist. The name of my book is Remember: The Science of Memory and the Art of Forgetting. I've been talking about Alzheimer's using Still Alice as a vehicle for that conversation for over a decade, trying to help folks understand what it feels like to have Alzheimer's and to recognize what those symptoms of dementia are. Alzheimer's begins with a protein called amyloid beta. It's a sticky protein. It'll bind to itself and form amyloid plaques. And if enough amyloid plaques accumulate in your brain, at some point it reaches a tipping point that causes neurofibrillary tangles, neuroinflammation, cell death, and all of the symptoms that we classically know of as Alzheimer's. Prior to that tipping point, you're symptom-free. It's sort of like if you have high cholesterol, it doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack. So below the tipping point, your symptoms of forgetting are all normal. Why did I come in this room? Where did I park my car? Oh, what's his name? I need to remember to buy something later. I forgot. That's totally normal. After the tipping point, the glitches in memory formation and retrieval are different. Alzheimer's begins in your hippocampus, the very place in your brain that's responsible for forming new memories. So the very first symptoms of Alzheimer's will be not remembering what someone said a few minutes ago, repeating yourself over and over, because you don't remember what you just said, not remembering what happened last week, even if it was really emotional, meaningful, new, surprising, or repeated. Things that you would normally remember from last week won't get consolidated because your hippocampus is under attack. Alzheimer's will move It doesn't just stay in your hippocampus, it invades your frontal lobe, so you'll have problems with problem solving, decision making. It invades parts of your brain that have to do with where things are in space, so you might get lost in the neighborhood you've lived in your whole life. It will invade the parts of your brain that have to do with language, so you'll start having trouble coming up with words more and more. The disease will move on to your limbic system and cause changes in emotion and personality. So what's the good news here? There's actually a lot of it. The vast majority of what we forget every single day is totally normal, and probably will be throughout your lifetime. For the vast majority of us, Alzheimer's is not our brain's destiny. Only 2% of folks have Alzheimer's that is 100% inherited. This accumulation of amyloid plaques takes 15 to 20 years, and can be influenced by how we live. So what are the things that influence those amyloid plaque levels? Sleep. While you sleep, there are cells in your brain called glial cells. These are the janitors of your brain. It's the sewage and sanitation department. They get really busy clearing away all of the metabolic debris that accumulated in your brain while you were in the business of being awake. And one of the things it critically clears away is amyloid beta. So if you don't get enough sleep, the glial cells won't have enough time to do their jobs, and you'll wake up in the morning with some extra amyloid in your brain that wasn't cleared away. If this happens over decades, right, 15 to 20 years of amyloid plaque accumulation, you are increasing your risk of developing Alzheimer's. Diet. There have been many really good studies that have shown that being on a Mediterranean or MIND diet can reduce your risk of Alzheimer's from anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2. This means eating the rainbow, the green leafy vegetables, the brightly colored fruits and berries, fatty fishes, nuts, beans, olive oils. That's the food that's going to support your brain health and help you prevent Alzheimer's. Exercise. It works to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's. A brisk walk for 30 minutes. 4 to 5 times a week is enough to decrease your amyloid plaque levels and reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's by 1/3 to 1/2. Again, this is significant. If I offered you a pill that would reduce your risk of Alzheimer's by 50%, you'd take it. So we want to get up and move around. Chronic stress is really bad for our memory, both today in creating new memories, and it will increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's in the future. With chronic stress, your cortisol levels remain elevated. You're in a constant state of fight or flight. This is really bad for your hippocampus. It will actually shrink the size of your hippocampus by inhibiting neurogenesis. It will inhibit the birth of new neurons there. So now you've got a smaller structure that's essential for the formation of new memories and is the very first place hit by Alzheimer's. This is why we want to do things that manage stress. Yoga, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, and being with people. All of these have been shown to restore your cortisol levels, and it will restore the size of your hippocampus. Learning new things. Let's say you haven't done any of those things I just mentioned. Let's say you're chronically sleep deprived. You're watching Netflix till 3 a.m., you've been raising kids for decades, you're a woman, you've gone through menopause. I don't need to list all that. Let's say your amyloid plaque levels have reached that tipping point, and it's triggered the cascade that causes Alzheimer's. If you've lived a life where you're cognitively active, you're regularly learning new things, you are building what we call a cognitive reserve. Every time you learn something new, you're building new synapses, you're building new neural connections. So what does this have to do with Alzheimer's? If I have some Alzheimer's disease pathology present in my brain, amyloid plaques are gunking up the connections between a certain number of neurons, blocking some synapses. But what if I've built a lot of redundant connections? I've got an abundance and a redundancy in connections. I can dance around those roadblocks. I can take detours and still get to the memory I'm trying to get to. So learning new things gives us a way to build an Alzheimer's resistant brain. The good news is a lot of these lifestyle factors work as well as any pill that we might develop for preventing Alzheimer's. We just have to do them. Forgetting due to Alzheimer's is scary. But normal